I got in a lot of trouble, didn't see him for periods, and but man. I love my man, but what you mean, but?
As we got older, we learned why you weren't there all the time. We learned why and we understood it.
Yeah, but baby, when we got married,
it's okay. I've got a friend that deals with little situations like this.
So it seems like the drama in Steve Harvey's family is only getting started. And the wildly sprang rumors about the matron of the family, Marjorie, cheating on her husband, not with one, but with two members of their staff, stirred even more drama in this blended clan. Now it seems like Brandi Harvey, the TV host's eldest daughter from his first marriage, is accusing her stepmom of brainwashing Steve and using her position to put more distance between the iconic comedian and his biological children, which Brandi finds beyond hurtful.
Because you have worked so hard.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Celeb Live Channel. So we all know that Steve's kids were never into Marjorie, since with her appearance in Steve's life, she is everything that the TV host can think about. However, it seems like there's more to this story, and as Brandi, one of Steve's twin daughters, mentioned, when Marjorie became the matron of the family, things got worse since this lady came to take all the money. It's not the first time Marjorie comes under attack for squandering the family riches, and with recent rumors about her infidelity, it seems obvious that this lady is in there for money. Steve Harvey himself said that he was going to spend the majority of his wealth, Marjorie.
We're spending 85 cents. I promise you, I'm not leaving tens of millions of dollars. I'm not doing that.
And just as a reminder for his kids that they shouldn't expect a huge pile of cash after his demise, he took to Twitter and wrote, "I told my kids my wife, Marjorie, and I are going to spend 85s of our money. So when it comes to the reading of, there will be no shocks." Now, Brandi believes that Marjorie has brainwashed Steve, and she's secretly working on a plan to use as much of his riches as possible and also to create a distance between Harvey and his biological kids. Well, the tension in the family is also growing, since Marjorie doesn't seem to treat all Harvey's kids equally, and she constantly tries to put her own daughter, Lori, on a pedestal.
Just remember that you're the prize always.
Say that one more time.
Just remember that you are the prize.
Yes!
Which creates a lot of tension between the younger generation of this blended family members. Brandi believes that ever since Marjorie agreed to become Steve's wife, the lives of Brady, Karli, Broderick, and Winton, the biological kids of the iconic TV host, have turned upside down. If you don't know the story behind their relationship with Steve, well, it's been far away from paradise.
Yeah, you had those moments when you're a teenager and you're like, well, why isn't he there? But
as Steve himself once admitted, his daughter twins Karli and Brandi eventually told him that they gave up their fight for his attention because it was pointless to compete with his work. Years later, they said to me, "Dad, we didn't understand why you left us, but we know now you had to go. You didn't just belong to us. You belong to the world." That was emotional for me. But you know what, guys? Steve could really catch up with his kids years after, but he chose to devote all his time to Marjorie and eventually her daughter Lori, completely neglecting the fact that he has other kids as well. The saddest part of the whole story is that Steve seems to be brainwashed by Marjorie because he's now planning to spend all his wealth on her vacations and designer clothes.
I'm making it happen for you every day. Let's not forget that.
And guys, this man is ready to protect his wife at all costs. And despite the multiple controversial and questionable headlines Marjorie has made over years, it feels like Steve still believes that this woman is a saint. When the internet trolls accused Marjorie of squandering Steve's riches, he replied to them by stating on his social media, "Truth is, I love her and she loves me. That's a fact." Well, according to Brandi Harvey, they both in love, but while Steve is head over heels in love with Marjorie, this lady fancy only Steve's thick pockets. And that why Brandi is confident that her dad is under Marjorie's evil spell and follows all her rules blindly.
And I suggest you start adapting to some of these rules around here.
Apparently, the idea of making Lori the family's darling also belonged to Marjorie because there's no point in competing for Steve's attention when it comes to Lori. The Family Feud host is not even trying to hide his favoritism. Just a couple of years ago, Steve gifted his apparent favorite 23-year-old stepdaughter a new Lamborghini Urus. Apparently, Steve has enough money to spoil his stepdaughter, Lori, and spend quality time with her, something that Steve's biological kids had been deprived of since early childhood. And guys, you can still feel the resentment in their voices when they appear on Steve's show and doing interviews. That bitterness they talk about their childhood years is palpable. And although Steve publicly stated that he was ready to make up for the mistakes of his past and reconnect with every single child he had fathered, saying in one of his interviews, "I had spent my entire life trying to make up for the mistakes I made as a young man." It looks like another act to get more points to his family man image, but it's obvious not only to Brandi but to other kids as well that Steve has no intention to reconnecting with anyone and is fully under Marjorie's evil spell. Many fans are disappointed to see relationship guru Steve Harvey in such a bad light because apparently he's not the head of this family and it's Marjorie who decides for him. As one person commented, I remember him saying not long ago how he was not gonna leave any money to his kids. Quote, I'm going to use all my money with my wife. And another user added when Steve passes away, Marjorie will continue to make sure her kids are first in line for Steve's money. I hope his will is tight. But Brandi is not the only one who's furious with the family dynamics. And if you remember, guys, other Steve's kids were also neglected by a respectable family man and a father. Steve's son from the first marriage and Brandi's blood brother Broderick also opened up about his own experience with his father, saying that Steve was an absentee for his entire childhood and adolescence.
I didn't really have my dad full-time into my life until I was 16.
It looks like Marjorie doesn't like sharing attention and money, and looking at this lady, you can definitely say that she doesn't tolerate competition. That's why she's now making the lives of Steve's biological kids a nightmare, hoping that they would stop talking to their dad and eventually disappear from his life. Just to prove my point, this year, Lori's eldest sister Morgan wasn't present at her birthday party. Instead, she went to the Dominican Republic on a family vacation. Looks like it's just a matter of time before the family will be reduced to only 3 people, Steve, Marjorie, and Lori. And actually, knowing how Steve used to treat his kids in past, I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the family will soon stop talking to him at all, considering he only cares about Marjorie and Lori, and other kids are totally neglected.
What your allowance at? You didn't spend your allowance?
No, I don't get that much allowance, actually.
This most certainly raises a lot of questions about Steve's character and the influence Marjorie has on him. Apparently, she convinced the entertainment mogul that his elder kids need to learn how to make fortune on their own and stop relying on father's help.
And it's a time that you have to kick them out the nest, their wings work.
Now, Brandi is saying that Marjorie's evil influence changed her father forever, and he had turned into a selfish person who only cares about his wife. By what it looks, Steve is not planning to change his behavior, and this family is doomed to fall apart quite soon. As one insider claimed, the TV host has no intention to face the obvious. As for how Steve is coping with the turmoil between his loved ones, it's alleged that his way of handling it has been to throw money at them, buy them gifts, or just go into another room to chomp on a cigar, but it's not working. But the saddest part of the story that Steve doesn't the problem here, and as he is saying, Brandi will eventually understand that he was right all along and forgive him for his choices.
But you gotta understand, you gotta forgive your fathers, because they human too. They made mistakes.
Only time will tell if Steve is going to understand that Marjorie has been trying to disconnect the family members and take all Steve's attention. Many fans believe the time for the TV host to stop looking at his wife through the pink glasses will also come, but it may be too late for him. As one user wrote, Marjorie showed her red flags up front. Steve chose to ignore them. And another user added, this lady's intentions were obvious from the beginning. The only one in the dark is Steve. Well, love for money already made Marjorie make a lot of things. And apparently, thanks to her criminal past, she learned a trick or two of how to succeed in life. And what do you think about this, guys? Is Marjorie trying to create the distance between Steve and his biological kids? And do you think that Steve is under her influence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm eager to know what you're thinking. And in the meantime, check my other videos about the crazy stuff that's happening in Steve Harvey's family. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, and I promise to be back very soon.